Okay, how are we looking? So, resupply. And resupply a bit. By a bit, I mean to full. And I'll go back. I don't want to go back there. It's just a clear-cut currency move. But like I could jump straight up with a neutral outcome. At the end of the day, we will have to go that way. I don't think that we really have to rush here. There's also Wellspring. Let's go to Flotsam. Go to Flotsam. Let's do the primary drive first. Come, let's get you inside. Jean-Mi swings open the creaking corroded door beside his booth. Such a prize must have levied a heavy cost. He glanced beside you to Junie, who insisted she came along and on not letting the prime ship mine out of her sight. Your friend, too. Yes, please. Come in. Jean-Mi beckons and then turns back and disappears inside. Junie squints at you. Are you sure you trust this one? I don't have a choice. Besides, I suppose not. Lay on then. You both squeeze through the door and drift down into the workshop. You're aware of Eugenia's eyes wandering across the piles and piles of tech on either side, and you wonder if she recognizes anything among the junk. Sit, sleeper. Jean-Mi is already at the chair, arranging his arrays of articulated arms. I'll take the ship mine, if you please. Hand it over. You hold the ship mine in front of you and give it a small push so it flows gently over to Jean-Mi. He grasps it with both hands and takes it to a neat little work table in the back you didn't see before, where thick cables float lazily, tethered to the wall. Slide into the chair, tucking your feet behind the bottom bar. You hold yourself in place and watch as Jean-Mi begins connecting up the prime ship mine. A tremble of nervousness runs along your arms. Suddenly you feel Junie's hand clasped around your own. You look over into her face. Is this okay? I want you to know I'm here. Thanks. Not silently. Jean-Mi, Junie calls across the room. You are going to need to talk us through what you are about to do. Of course. Jean-Mi is slotting an arm-thick cable into the ship mine. A little patience, please. All of this is very technical. Turns to face you both. What is your friend's name, sleeper? Junie. Junie answers for you. And I can tell you that you are using a Solheim-built data cradle modified to handle a prime ship mine. Rattles off at speed, which will work as long as you manage the data flow through a polymer-clad overflow cable looped into the asynchronous cortex cache. Yes. Jean-Mi eyes her, a small smile crossing his lips. As I said, technical. What will happen to me? Jean-Mi refocuses on you. Depends, says while preparing the far end of the thick cable. You are referring to as me. Problem we have is your frame, your body, typical alterations, biosynthetic recording, unusual growth. Jean-Mi shakes his head. From the diagrammatics I have, these are not typical frames, even those that have been rebooted as you have. In order to investigate safely, you must transplant your emulation, basic terms your mind, but in reality, not so basic. Smiles in attempt at the reassurance. Your emulation is an emulation of a human, and a human mind cannot be separated from its sensorium. The mind-body paradigm has been long disproved. Cognition has physical basis. So, I must first distribute the emulation between your hardware and the prime ship mind. The hardware will co-run the emulation like two lobes of a brain, puts its hands together as if in prayer, then slowly separates them. The motion makes you feel sick. Then, for a short period, I will disconnect the two. Those moments you will, in a sense, be in two places at once, though each lobe will be partial. Too long in the state and two partial emulations would decay. Each disconnected will allow me a short period of full access to your entire frame and space system language. I hope this is understandable. Jamie gives you a serious look. One of the most curiously human aspects of sleeper experience is that you, too, do not inherently understand or conceive of the systems that allow your existence. Or the risks. Jamie pauses, considering his words. The risks are many, and severe. Emulation collapse is chief amongst them. This would be terminal. But counter to this, I do not believe the changes to your frame are in a positive direction. Jamie clasps his hands. The greatest risk is to do nothing. We have little choice to proceed. Now, before I connect to your frame, let us activate the ship mind. Jamie gestures to Junie. Please, if you would like to come with me and oversee the process, I would be pleased. Junie shoots you a reassuring glance and then glides over to the ship mind, obscuring your view of it. You hear quiet conversation between the two of them, their silhouettes lit by the flickering screen light of scrolling lines of code. You take a calming breath, but are instantly aware of how superfluous that action is when your frame requires no oxygen at all to function. There's a certain sensation that accompanies such thoughts, jarring disconnection, like when descending a staircase, your foot expects a step and finds void instead. You try to calm the growing anxiety as Junie and Jean-Mi assess the mind. Ship mind is pristine. Junie turns back and drifts toward you. Our care in its extraction seems to have paid off. Junie smiles. This is good news. Junie is indeed right. You have done well. Jean-Mi approaches. I am, however, seeing only minor traces of the protocol that the ship mind was designed to house, the one that ran the ship it was installed in. I would expect to see it in full. He angles his head and lifts his shoulders in a slow shrug. But protocols are not easy to track. In the end, it only saves us the step of extracting it from the mine. Instead, I simply wipe the traces. Jean-Mi stops beside you. A protocol is not like an emulation, like your emulation. It has no integral physical element, it is data only. And therefore it could be anywhere in that ship. In the end, its absence does not concern me. Get on with it then. Jean-Mi nods and lifts the far end of the thick cable you saw earlier. You know this is the end that will connect to the port on the back of your head. Junie settles beside you again. She gives you a silent look. It's time. You turn to one side to allow access to the port, your eyes fixed on the far wall. You see something among the piled tech there that you hadn't noticed before. Small metal-like, skull-like head, like that of a doll. You frown, trying to focus on the head, and then the cable connects. You are split like a cell, dividing, wrenched in two directions at once. The world goes dark and the cloud rushes in to fill the gap at your center. Where am I? You ask a question in your mind, and you feel it travel across the gap as it forms like a finger drawn across your scalp, from ear to ear, but not scalp. You have no scalp, no head. You are stretched out like the skin of a drum, looped like the string of a noose. The smallest vibration echoes across yourself like a ripple across a puddle. And then you feel it, a strong pulse, like a heartbeat, like thunder, like footsteps. The flickering, the trembling, the thought coming into being. The thought flickers in front of you and you recognize that it is not your own. Just a sickness. Disintegrate, the thought answers. You fold up in blankness, then a moment after you unfold like waking. Partition, to divide. Dwelling, indwell, thought answers. You stretch into infinitude, then a moment after you contract like waking. In spirit, to haunt inside. Substitute, substrate, the thought answers. Then it approaches, then it enters, then it is yours. You split then the moment after you reform like waking. And in the cracks that seal up, for a moment in those cracks, something glows. Sleeper, I'm here. Her eyes flicker open like shutters. Yuna's face is closed, her eyes wide. They're awake! She calls over your head. She looks back at you. Easy now, take it slow. You twist, floating, turning your head as if you were underwater, feeling the resistance of a body you had already forgotten. How long has it been? You feel a weight you haven't felt in... You're okay, Sleeper. Tell us you are there. Jin leans in close. Okay. Jin smiles. They're okay! Calls to Jean-Mi. I'm glad to hear that. You hear Jean-Mi's voice, and he comes into focus. The process was successful. Jean-Mi floats beside the chair, his hands clasped in a business-like fashion. I was able to access the frame directly, without your emulation being present. I ran the administrator-level diagnostic processes built into the system and received the results. He takes a moment to gather himself. Your frame is indeed changing. The protein chains that code your biosynthetic organ group cells replacement have been altered. Put it simply, your body is following a new set of instructions. How? This process? The entire replacement of your protein chains could only have been achieved over multiple doses of a specialized substance, as a part of a carefully planned process of total substitution. That word sticks in your mind. Substitution. Say it without thinking. Yes. Jean-Mi reacts as if you were speaking to him. I believe it could only have been achieved with one substance as the carrier. Stabilizer. The drug is not designed to make you depend on them. The drug Lane fed you to keep you alive. The drug you thought you had escaped. Stabilizer was laced with something? That is what I believe. Jean-Mi looks apologetic. This kind of process. Jean-Mi hesitates now, and you realize the bad news is yet to come. Performed over many doses, carefully planned and designed. Can't think of a way it can be reversed. Jean-Mi looks down. I can say that you are changing. I can tell you how it was achieved, but I can neither stop it, nor tell you its ultimate end. I'm sorry. Understand? I'm sorry, Sleeper. Junior struggles to find words. Perhaps we can find someone else, or try again? You don't feel able to respond. You quietly push yourself away from the chair, your thoughts slow to cohere. You glide back to the door and then out into the flow of flotsam, the noise and activity passing by you like smoke. In the haze you find that word again, substitute, and begin to wonder what exactly it is that you are becoming. 2 great points, nice. Serafin once more finds you in your bunk. He gently prods you with questions and you quietly relent. You explain what Jean-Mi said about your suspicions regarding Lane and your confusion as to his motivation. You tell him you don't know what this will mean for you in the future. He listens, and when he is done listening, you both sit and wait for the moment to pass. And then you leave the rig, each on your own errands, each knowing that the only option is to keep going until you are forced to stop.